No, it's not just you. This is why men are done with London. And perhaps women are done, and actually everyone is done with London in general. What has happened to this great city? What has happened to, arguably, at one stage, one of the best cities in the world? It's quite disturbing and extremely depressing. It's why men, if they're choosing to stay in the UK, are moving further and further out to places like the Cotswolds, the countryside, and even further up north or further down south. At the end of the day, this might not just be a London thing, this could be a city thing. The same could be said in New York, in Stockholm, Tokyo, etc. At the end of the day, cities have fallen, and no greater city has fallen harder than London. And in this video, I'm going to reveal punchy, slightly controversial, but real practical reasons as to why London is done and men are walking away from London as well. Let's talk about the cost of living chaos. London's sky-high rent and living expenses are crushing men's financial independence. Literally, every other week, every other month, interest rates are rising. The cost of even tomatoes and cans of soups are going through the roof. And thanks to the local governments and the main governments as well, putting expenses up higher than ever before. You are barely making it, even if you're on a six-figure salary, which not many men in London are. Even if you've got your own business, even if you're a property owner like me, you are getting burnt badly. You can't afford anything. You can't do anything. Back in the day, you could have a full day out as a family. You can go to a shopping centre, do a bit of shopping, get some lunch, then get some dinner, and then maybe go see a movie afterwards. Now, if you're lucky, you can only do one of those things, and maybe once a month. If you're renting, your landlord is putting their rent up to cover their expenses and their mortgage. If you own a property, your mortgage rate is going up literally every single month. It's chaotic and a complete mess. Let's talk about dating and how dating in London is a nightmare. The dating scene feels transactional, shallow, and uninspiring for many men. And when you live in a cosmopolitan city like London, you have to really rely on dating apps and online dating. And in the last 18 months or 2 years, what the hell has happened to dating apps? The dating app market is broken, and they pride themselves on taking advantage of really insecure, really miserable, lonely men who are desperate for a date, a hookup, and so on. But because there's so many people and because there's so many options, it's easy to sit on the toilet and swipe away and hope and pray for a connection, but you're just competing with not 100, but 1,000 other men. And then if you go on a date, where the hell do you go? And then what happens? And what are Londoners really like? Like I said, they're shallow, transactional, and slightly narcissistic as well. The rat race is extremely rigged in London. Corporate culture in London leaves men burnt out with little reward or recognition. Like I said, there are a few men who are earning six figures. There are men on really high salaries. But where do those high salaries go? Where do the promotions go? Where are they going career-wise? They are literally hamsters running on a wheel, hoping for a break, hoping that something's going to change, hoping that they're going to go to that next level, when really their expenses are going up, and it's a game, it's a scam. You're just getting more burnt out, and you're trying to compete with your mate, trying to compete with your colleagues, trying to get better, trying to get more, and you think, oh, I got a 10 grand pay rise, but then you get taxed more. Oh, I got a promotion, but now you're going to have to work weekends. It just goes on and on and on. And then you turn your 65 or 70 or 80 and you think to yourself, was it worth it? Absolutely not. And especially not in London. Safety is not a joke in London. Rising crime and a lack of personal safety make London feel more hostile than home. There's a saying that Londoners have: you can't have anything nice anymore. What does anything nice mean? Let's say you've worked hard your entire life and your dream was to have a nice watch, like a Rolex, for example. Can you wear your Rolex down the street? And this is not just a central London thing. Where I live in the suburbs, there's a stream of shops and cafes, and a man was sitting, literally having a coffee with his wife, and a car pulled over with a machete and robbed him of his Rolex, literally on a Saturday afternoon in broad daylight. You can't walk anywhere. You can't travel anywhere. You can't do anything. Your cars get stolen whilst you're asleep. Yeah, that happened to me. You get mugged on buses. If your safety is a joke, how can you call that home? How can you feel unsafe in your own bloody home, which is your city, which is London? Men can't afford to socialize anymore. Have you ever factored in the cost of a night out in London, which obviously excludes anyone but the ultra rich. This happened to me about 15, 20 years ago. I used to always go out to these nightclubs, and just entry alone cost a fortune. Don't even get me started on the drinks. And then if you wanted a table, which is the biggest scam going, good luck. You'd have to either order it in advance, the club would have to look after you, or you'd have to be like a Saudi prince, which when I used to go out used to be all the tables. They were all Arabs who were rich, or Russians that were rich, or drug lords. They had so much money blown on a table, which would be anywhere between 500 to £1,000 back in the day. God knows what it is now. But let's even forget just going to a club. What if you just want to go out for a meal? What if you just want to go out for a drink in central London? Well, you've either got to get on the train or on the bus, but if you don't feel safe doing that, you get a taxi or a cab or an Uber. That's bloody expensive. Then you've got to get a round of drinks. Don't even get me started on how expensive just a round of drinks is in a pub or a bar. Then you go out for a meal. Where are you going to eat? It's probably about £50 to £100 minimum a head. Then you've got to get home. And then suddenly you've spent hundreds of pounds for what? What was it worth it? You've basically paid almost a paycheck or a quarter of your paycheck to be out with a bunch of drunken idiots at an overpriced restaurant in an overpriced, overcrowded bar or club where you're frozen getting home if it's in the winter, or you're just exhausted and drained and you need to recover from it with the worst hangover ever. Property ownership? Absolutely forget about it. And I called this 14 years ago. I looked around me, I said, how many of us are going to own homes? London is going to end up like New York, where nobody owns their property. And unfortunately, I was right. Skyrocketing property prices make the dream of owning a home impossible, even in the lockdowns. Even during COVID, when no one was going out or doing anything, property prices boomed and people were doing viewings. It went crazy. And year on year on year, these properties are going up and up and up, and the interest rates are going up, and it's just a joke. The value for money you can get for London is a disgrace. That's why men are leaving London and getting more value for their money, more space for their money, with less council tax, less crime in the area, and so on. But even so, if you go out into London, no matter which direction, north, south, east, or west, you will get more value, more land, and more property. But some people are still foolish enough to mortgage themselves up to their eyeballs, overspend on a property that's totally not worth it in an area that's declining as well. And as a landlord of over 14 years and an investor, it absolutely disgusts me to see what just the house prices where you want to live in are going to become in the next 3 to 5 years. London has always been known as a very stressful place. In fact, London is the stress capital of the world. London's relentless pace creates unbearable mental and physical drain and strain as well. Ask anybody who never grew up in London, someone who grew up in the countryside or from up north, south, wherever. When they move to London and live in London, something very scary happens to them. First of all, they actually get a lot older and look a lot older. They get very stressed. They either overeat, drink, take up smoking or other drugs as well, just to keep up with the pace. That's the rat race. Everyone is miserable. People shove into each other. People are rude. Try saying good morning or hello to somebody on the underground train, and literally you might get a middle finger or completely blanked or the most miserable, grumpy face in the world. What's the point? And in the winter, it's the worst. What's the point in dealing with the pace and the stress of it all? Normally, I used to go to Winter Wonderland, which is like a fun fair in central London around Christmas time. But for the first year in years, I decided not to go because I didn't want to be with all the crowds, all the pace, all the stress of it all. And that's on a weekend. That's on my day off. Yes, London has just got so stressful and it's just so not worth it. Nothing feels genuine anymore in London. From fake smiles, if you get a smile, to forced connections and conversations, there's a lack of authenticity. I've never seen London more superficial, more fake, and more backstabbing than ever before. And this comes with close friends, and this comes even with family as well. Family are jealous that if you want to get on with your life. Friends are jealous at anything you do, whether you get a girlfriend, don't get a girlfriend, whether you buy a home, whether you get a promotion, whether you buy a nice car, whether you're trying to progress with your life, whether you lose weight. It's all fake and it's all BS because everybody's miserable here. Everyone's comparing to each other. Everyone is jealous of each other. Everyone wants the other person to fail. It's so draining. And lastly, and I can't believe I didn't put this first, but I wanted to save the best to last, the public transport hell. Overcrowded, overpriced, and unreliable. Enough said. At the end of the day, I did a video recently about how the UK is done, and it pretty is done as well. But then I venture out of London and I go to places like Bath in Somerset, or my favourite place, the Cotswold, or even some places up in the north or in the southeast, etc. And then I'm reminded of the beauty of the UK, of how genuine people, when you go on a bus, people smile and say hello, good service, good local products, good food, land, nature, fresh air. That's what men want now. They are fed up of the rat race. I've lived in the suburbs and I'm edging further and further and further out so I can stay as far away from London as possible. And I don't blame other men, and again women or anyone, doing the same. London has fallen. Will it recover? Who knows? Who cares? But as long as a certain mayor is in charge, that seems like a real big fantasy nowadays. So if you're leaving London, good luck. Why are you leaving London? Share your comments below. Share your experiences. What city are you from? Do you draw parallels to London as well? I love to hear your stories and experiences. Share them below. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification if you haven't already. And share this video with someone who you think can really relate to the content. Thanks for watching.